Sins of the Father, this season's Worf episode, I guess.
You are a traitor.
Worf is accused of treason and faces a Klingon death penalty.
It is a good day to die.
His enemies are hiding the truth that could free him.
You will not execute a member of my crew.
Now, Captain Picard must risk his life to defend Worf's innocence on Star Trek: The Next Generation.
I love this episode. Worf episodes, Klingon episodes are just, they're all reliable. You pull them out and it's just, it always works. And I have a soft spot for them. The bonding is, so far is like in my top 3 for the season. That's basically a Worf episode. Yeah, I just loved everything about this. From the beginning with the hook with Tony Todd, veteran actor, Candyman, thinking it's going to be basically that episode with Riker when he was on the Pog, but now this guy, Kern, is on the Enterprise and a whole bunch of shenanigans. As much as I would love a low-stakes episode like that, it turns into a very neat high-stakes episode after the opening hook. The hook is just, this guy's on the ship. And then everything that follows after that is just great. Directed by Les Landau. Ron Moore was a script consultant that helped write the story, I believe, teleplay. Yeah, and we'll get into every little nitty-gritty detail, but from the planet, the acting, Picard being Worf's boy, them coming together, all the twists and turns, how Klingon culture has changed, it's just, I love this episode.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot as well. The great thing about this is that it does something we very often critique, and that is where they take a story we're already interested in, that being this Klingon on the ship, and then they add more to it. It's Worf's brother. But then they do it again, and they add this court setting element to it. Being able to twist the story that many times and still be coherent and exciting and very good and well done is impressive, because so often with TV, I don't even think this is just this show or just Star Trek, but with TV in general, episodes can just be one thing. Like, oh, that's this episode. You know, that's the episode where they do this, whatever the case may be. And when it's something that you are liking or are enjoying, sometimes I feel it's disappointing when the show just veers off of that. And it's like, oh, well, the most interesting part of the episode they didn't really get into. And in this one, they do it time and time again, but it never blows up in their face. It just adds to it. And I think that goes to the writing of Ronald Moore, another great writing credit for him here, and in being able to do this, because even though this Klingon on the ship isn't the whole story, not even him being Worf's brother is the whole story, he realizes all of those things need time. And that's why I think it feels like the episode has so much that happens in it, because everything somehow gets fit into this 44 minutes. I would say maybe the only thing that, because of that, feels a little bit rushed is the trial itself. But even that has a reason, because it's a kangaroo court. It's not a real trial.
Right, yeah.
The fix is in from the beginning.
It doesn't matter what Picard says. As much as I would love to see Picard go to bat for a Worf, like they're even telling him, like, hey, it doesn't matter. And like I loved trying to figure that out. Like, why doesn't it matter? The reason why, it's like, oh, because it's going to cause this huge snowball effect where everything's going to fall apart. And I feel like Klingons 100 years ago and like Kirk's day, they'd be like, oh, yes. I love to see the growth of the Klingons since then. And M'Bek, I think his name was, who was the guy from Star Trek V. I'm going to assume he's just a descendant of him. Looks just...
Was it not the same character name?
Not the same character name,
Okay,
no.
so he just... Okay.
So he just played another Klingon, which I think is cool.
I keep trying to remember for every species, like, how long does everyone live? Because I guess Vulcan were the only one that were confirmed to live a super long time. Because the one time, you know, when they're like, how old is Sarek?
Isn't it unusual for a Vulcan to retire at your age? After all, you're only 102.
102.437 precisely, Doctor.
But I don't think they've confirmed that with any other race, so I'll just assume everyone lives about a human's lifespan.
How far Klingons have come and this whole, like, hierarchy of problems that happened from this one court hearing. And to the point where, like, when M'Bek was talking to Worf one-on-one, I was like, is this really happening?
No shame will come upon you. Return to your ship.
Yeah, and this episode was able to take a lot of Star Trek things we've seen before and put them together without it feeling too ridiculous or cramped. So, for example, the reveal of a sibling. We saw that in TOS with Kirk's brother, killed off immediately. I thought that was happening again here, but thankfully he survives the episode. Crazy, because even Spock's brother in Star Trek V, he doesn't get killed off immediately, but does die in that movie. Is this the first time a sibling has survived their introduction? I'm trying to think if any other characters have had siblings get revealed and they were okay, but I don't think so. Someone will correct me if we have.
I'm convinced Laura's still out there.
Yeah, lore. Yeah, I guess that would be technically, a brother for sure. We'll see. At this point, I'm honestly starting to lose hope. Like, did they forget about him? I don't know.
But children in Star Trek. Bad. David, Lal, Troy's kid. I'm sure Riker has plenty of children out there.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, they were able to put that element in there, the court element where Picard just, he does whatever he needs to do. So this one, for example, the fix is in Kangaroo Court. He doesn't go by just the proceedings in this court. He realizes he has to do more. He goes and finds Kaleth, was that her name?
Kahlast, I think, which was Worf's nurse on the Kittimore outpost.
Thelma Lee as Kalest. I thought, I don't want to blame her, but that whole side story was kind of the weakest part for me in terms of how engaged I was. But it still stands to Picard as a character. Oh, I have to go recruit this person. And it actually was one of the few times so far where he tells the Enterprise to do something and the whole crew is working on this thing. And it actually is interesting and adds to the story because we didn't already know what was going on. The traitor's son didn't, reveal behind the scenes to the audience what was going on. So I was actually interested in what Geordi and Data and Riker were looking at. That led them to Kalest. While her performance to me didn't add much, it was cool to see Picard show up in the hood.
Oh yeah, like Jedi Master Picard.
And the shot, Les Landry directing this, the shot when he comes in, her shadow in the foreground was excellent. She says no to him, and then he leaves, gets attacked, has to fight off the Klingon. It was all great stuff. There was some goofy stuff in there too, with the Klingon stuff. The moment where the traitor's son tells Kurn to leave.
Then you will die for him.
It's like, were they standing there the whole time waiting? But it's like goofy Star Trek stuff that you just like accept.
It's classic.
Yeah.
Just completely accept it. In addition to that shot with Kalest in the house, but I think the lighting and everything was great. Klingon lighting is always wonderful. Just that dark, moody red is amazing. And I love the paintings done for the Klingon planet. That was all incredible. It kind of took me back to Blade Runner a little bit. Little Blade Runner vibes there. I don't know if that was intentional. Yeah, and I like how they bring in Kalast to like give this like, hey, blah blah blah, but it's like it still like doesn't matter. Like
They're not even going to let her testify.
Yeah, it's like no, it doesn't matter because we have to do this, otherwise it's the end of everything.
It gets them to admit what's going on, but it still doesn't affect the actual trial proceedings, which I liked because so many times in Star Trek, it's like, oh, okay, everything's fixed. But no, even in this case, they couldn't just get out of it or find their way out of it. Worf had to make this sacrifice of being essentially excommunicated from the Klingon.
And the entire episode is like, I am Klingon. He just wants, that acceptance and like to save to save all these people, he has to like forego his honor. But in order to save his brother and to stop the Civil War, he has to have the entire Klingon, High Council, including his brother, turn their backs on him, and the one person who's still facing him is his other family, Picard. And that shot of him walking out together, it's just like, and the credit popping up, I'm like, just
the credit popping up, excellent.
Oh yeah, you can see me. I flipped out over an ending credit. It's not because it's over, but because it ended where it needed to end. Exactly. I didn't need another, you're a trusted member of my crew on the bridge.
Yeah.
I've already seen it. Don't need it.
How about the moment where he says, I will die for the Empire, and Picard's like, what? No, Worf.
Lieutenant, the tidings will be silent.
Picard shuts up.
Yeah, because before that, Picard's like, I'm captain of the USS Hunter, blah, blah, blah. And then, like, Worf flips it back over. Nope. You're still this role.
The one time Worf will ever be able to talk like this to Picard, presumably.
We saw, like, Riker adapt and learn Klingon culture. It was so fun seeing Picard adapt to it. In the courtroom,
The McBuy is not complete. I bring an eyewitness, one who has new evidence, Kimpek.
And how about the amazing moment of after Worf's brother gets attacked, Worf asking Picard to step in as his Kaddish.
I can think of no one I would rather have at my side.
And Picard speaking Klingon to accept.
Yes.
Желаешь.
Geet ket jagmi judge. I accept.
I'm like,
And you could tell Picard like felt it, like he felt really appreciative and happy that Worf he felt honored, and it's so great because I feel like specifically Worf and Picard. I think everyone with Picard is kind of like this, but specifically with Worf, their relationship goes past just the captain employee relationship. Like I really feel like they have a strong bond. I don't know if it's because he's a Klingon or because he works so closely with Picard on the bridge, but I've really enjoyed that.
I don't know. It does feel heavier when it's Worf and Picard. Like Picard has great scenes with everyone per se, but maybe because I have a soft spot for Worf. But the Worf and Picard scenes feel. I don't know if Picard has empathy for Worf because he knows how tough it's been for him. I mean, to be in this position as a Klingon and know like all these Klingon things happen to him and these Klingon people come aboard the ship. It's like, oh God, he's got to be pulling Worf apart, especially after the ending. It's like those two are probably bros for life. I hope.
Yeah, I would hope so. And it goes back to, sometimes I think about it, it's funny to think, like, oh, this is supposed to just be one assignment, like the Enterprise. This journey is supposed to just be one assignment. It'll eventually end on to the next, and all these people have separate careers. We talked about this a little bit back in the TOS days, of like, oh, what happens after this 5-year journey? All these characters, where do they go? Love the whole idea. This was one of the things I wanted to see from the movie, is like building out the world and making it seem more real. That yes, this same crew isn't always just going to be on the Enterprise together. Like in the first movie, it was, bringing Bones out of retirement, and this one, Chekhov being on a completely different ship in a different role, moving on with his career, and bringing in Saavik and everything. I really loved the feel of like, oh, these characters are moving on and living their own lives. So being able to see what their lives are like after, TOS really builds out that realism of like, thinking about what they're going to be doing, because after these next two movies, I know we're going to be return to them eventually, but it's like I'm going to be wondering what are they going to be doing after that, and they've done a really good job thus far.
What's Spock going to be doing? Is he going to be laying there?
Got to think about him, yeah. But yeah, that's why I really like it. But then in the TOS movies, it's like, oh, they all just found ways to stay together anyway. And it makes me wonder in the TNG, timeline, it's like, how can they separate? Like, I feel like with this crew, even more so, it's like, I almost can't believe, them breaking up and doing other things, because they're so, like, tight-knit and everything is beyond just the Enterprise and Starfleet. It feels like with a lot of these characters, it feels like they're really all bonded together.
Yeah, that's why they changed it to it's continuing mission. It's like, I think also like you're smart enough. Like, let's not give us a limit on the show.
Yeah,
it's continuing mission. I mean, I know it doesn't last forever, but 7 is a lot more than 3 seasons. So.
Yeah, and TOS didn't even make it to the 5 years.
No, they didn't even make the 5 years. Yeah.
And I like the little twist of you think from watching it and from Jory's reaction, Riker's reaction, like, oh, this guy isn't adjusting at all. And then when Riker confronts him, he's like, this isn't a Klingon ship, and he says,
If it were a Klingon ship, I would have killed you for offering your suggestion.
And that's the little peek into, oh, he is restraining himself, similar to how when Riker went over there, he was trying to, engross himself in their culture, but he was still Riker. Like, he was still acting like Riker, and so that's just the reverse. But because we're not Klingons, we don't see it that way. We see it as this guy coming in and being different.
Like, he's trying. It just doesn't seem like it.
Yeah.
Like, he's trying a lot, believe me, because you're still listening to this sentence. You're not dead.
Yeah,
so shut up.
And that leads to that dinner scene, which I really love. But I do got to bring up Dr. Crusher. I don't know if she took some substances while filming this one or what Gates McFadden did, but I don't know. She has like 3 moments in this episode that I thought were just weird, where the first one is with the caviar at the dinner scene.
Try some caviar.
This is kind of, maybe she's just trying to be, a good host or whatever. Mm-hmm. Then in the scene with Worf, after Kurn gets stabbed, she's like all over him. And
he will be all right.
It does not matter. We should have let him die.
I'm like, well, this is kind of, like, I know she's the doctor. It's kind of weird. And then the third time is when Riker and Data and them are looking for the information, and she comes in.
I've got something.
Like, I don't know if she was, like, smoking with Tony Todd in between the scenes. I don't know. But, like, it was like, I'm like, this is kind of different.
I'm going to have to rewatch the clips because I wasn't paying attention to her behavior. I'm going to have to stick in closer. I do like after, this is later, but after Kurn was stabbed, and he's in the sickbay with With Crusher, it's like, Worf should have let him die.
Yeah, she's like, he'll be all right. Should have let him die.
I think he wasn't saying it with malintent. But
Yeah.
it's just, that's.
And because he thought they were gonna die, be executed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty great.
Should have let him die.
I think you like this episode a little bit more than me. I really enjoyed it, but kind of how like a few episodes ago, I really loved Matter of Perspective. I think that's probably flipped here for you because I would say this is my favorite Klingon episode, in this show thus far. I really, really, really enjoyed it, and I would love to get more of this, but I just really liked it. Like it didn't hit like that super high level.
Okay.
But I don't have any like major complaints except for that one storyline with the woman. I was just kind of like not really interested in that, but
Yeah, I get it. I mean, there's great episodes that I've watched where I'm like, I like this, but it's not like it doesn't hit me the same. It's like I don't know. It's like if everyone's favorite movies were based on how good they are, it's like
Yeah.
everyone would have the same list.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Also, I think it was just perfectly paced, in my opinion, and introduce and like, kind of like shuts me up. And like, I love one plot episodes, and it made me like an episode with continuing plot flips.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like,
rare.
If you make me like that outside of my wheelhouse, I think that's very special.
yeah.
Because I have my checklist. I have my one location, one plot. But if it can like flip that on me and make me like it, and like combine a little bit of Picard court, Klingon culture, Worf.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe I just have to get used to the fact that these reveals of characters' brothers aren't going to be as big of a deal as I want them to be. Because Kirk's brother, dead. And then Spock's brother, even in that movie, it was a reveal, but then it was like, okay, let's just get on with the movie.
You also didn't believe it because Spock knew of this brother the
whole
this
time,
entire
yeah.
time. But like he's a Vulcan, so why would he bring it up unless it
Yeah.
was logical to bring it up? But I do like the idea of Worf not knowing about this brother. I think that makes it definitely more believable.
I definitely like that. I would have been annoyed if it was like, oh, I never brought it up. Like, okay. But
Because he thought he was dead.
But that more so adds to what I'm saying in the terms of this is Worf finding out he even has a brother. This dude has nobody, his whole life. Like, he has nobody. His parents are dead. Kalar didn't work out, whatever. And then he finds out he has a brother. I get it. It doesn't have to be the entire episode, them getting to know each other or whatever. But it is left a little bit, to just be the side thing in service of this episode, which the episode is really good. But it's kind of just like, is this guy ever going to come back? He's alive, but like, I'm like, wish we could have gotten a little more of that like heavy hitting emotion from Worf of like, oh my God, I have a brother. But instead it just kind of seemed like he was shocked and surprised. But then as soon as the guy explained it, he's like, maybe he just accepted it and then they moved on a little bit.
Yeah, it's Worf. I don't know. It's a Klingon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like,
They did have the nice scene.
you know what I mean?
They had the nice scene in 10 Forward right before going down to the Klingon planet where
You are my commander, and I obey. In council chambers, you are my Chadish. You obey.
he kind of big bros him a little bit. They had good moments.
Yeah, definitely.
But I guess maybe I was expecting like that reveal. I was like, holy shit, Worf has a brother. And I almost felt like I reacted more than Worf did to finding out that information.
Yeah, I mean he's been put Klingon, huh? So he's like, I'm actually a Klingon. I'm not gonna react.
Yeah.
But also, I feel like it paid off with the end when everyone's turning their backs and like Kern's not turning his back. He's like, you gotta do it, man. You gotta do it. It's like,
And he even says brother too. He's like, brother. And then he does it.
oh, god damn.
Yeah, that's why I love Klingons so much, because, it's like they put honor above everything, even their own family. Worf saves the Klingon honor for his own family. Crazy.
Worf sacrifices his honor to save his family. He like cinema.
Yeah.
Put the Scorsese meme up. Absolute cinema. You've seen that meme, right?
Yeah.
Scorsese.
Alex and Josh feel the target audience on a cosmic journey, feeling so immense. They're sitting in a room, ready for the show. Star Trek Next Generation, Season 3, let's go! The first time they've seen this sci-fi sight, only going where no man's gone, day and night. Synth-pop beats fill the atmosphere. Their minds are racing, filled with wonder and cheer. Cosmic journey, they're feeling the thrill, exploring the stars. Their hearts are casting
Hey, yeah, great video, right? All right, good. Drop a